Hello everybody, welcome back to another mapping video. Today we are going to be looking to see what would happen if Colombia became an empire in 2022. Now this is just basically Gran Colombia. Gran Colombia was a thing, I think in the 1800s, late 1800s, but it did collapse. But they did have lands from Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, and Panama. Not annexing all of them, of course, because that'd just be stupid. But let's just get right into the video. Now, yeah, we're gonna have Ecuador just die here. They're just not gonna live for long because, it's just bad. So, yeah, Ecuador makes a push into them just a little bit. They're making progress along the coast more because the Andes run through here. So they begin pushing down the coast until they landlock the country, in which they push in just a little bit and cut off a large army until they surrender. Now, of course, we're gonna have full annexation here because Ecuador just made Ecuador just not exist anymore. But next, they're gonna go after Venezuela, which Venezuela is just bad. It's just a bad country altogether, so I would see if they could just die instantly. So, yeah, we're just gonna have them die. So they push in from the north, taking this lake, inland sea, whatever. I don't, taking this sea, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it's not even connected. And then they make a push along here as well, but it's not a very good push. So after a little bit, they do manage to push in just a tiny bit. And they push in more, but this is just Colombia. Let's just say they get some naval dominance over this region, makes a landing over here, and then this is where they start to fall. Now, like every single nation in Africa, they usually go along the coast. They usually have their most lands along the coast because the rest is not even able to be done. But if I have my geography correctly, we have a river here, so they push up this river. Is that the Amazon River? I don't know which river it is, but it's a river. Okay, it's a river. And so they push along the river and eventually make a landing over here. And basically all of their big populated cities are near the coast. So yeah, they take this coast right here. And then begin to focus more on taking the cities and river, which they do take all the river, which basically cuts it into two, which after a small push in here, they basically claim that they have all this when they really don't. But I'm going to do that just for simplicity's sake. Then this army that will hold out here finally dies, and then Venezuela's capital is captured, followed by the basically encirclement of everything, followed by the surrender of Venezuela. Now, in this, I'm pretty sure that Colombia could not hold on to Venezuela forever, just because I don't think they like being part of Colombia. So let's just say, let's just say they could, just for the sake of this scenario, and then they have a referendum in Trinidad and Tobago, having them join the country. Now, all the land that's left for them to take is some land along Peru and Brazil, which both of those are pretty strong countries, so they're going to go after Panama. Now, the problem with this is that it's protected by the USA, in which they make a non-aggression pact. The USA and Gran Colombia make a non-aggression pact. Now, practically what the USA and Colombia's plan is, they both basically carve up Central America, and everything in America that's not them. So, Cuba, and Jamaica, and the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. And then Mexico is next, and then we have these two. The rest can live because they don't really need to take all of this because it would just be a hassle for them to complete. So we are going to just, have the basically murder of all of it, everything, So we then have, Venezuela push into Panama, which they don't have a military, and the USA is already here, technically, because they have troops here, so they start making a rally up at the canal, and technically USA troops take the canal along with the Colombian, and then Panama just dies. I mean, maybe like, didn't in your last video or one of your earlier videos you say that this is a Darien Gap and no one can go through here? Yeah, well, I'm just gonna ignore it. Stupid. But while they were invading, we have the USA making a push along into Mexico. Now, Mexico is heavily centered by the Rocky Mountain, like in not the Rockies, I'm pretty sure, just mountains in general. Yeah, they did take all of Baja, and with the USA Navy, they make a landing in the Dominican Republic, and then push along the country, eventually wiping it out, as well as Haiti. Jamaica's next. And now Cuba's basically gone at this point. So we make a landing in the east, meanwhile in Havana, and then eventually the country falls. Now we have Colombia helping out America here, mostly. Then we had to take the western coast of Mexico, and just, that just falls. Well, it's a small yet good landing in Yucatan, which just basically helped enforce their blockade of Mexico on the western side, on the eastern side. And then falling along the coast, we have Belize get murdered. And then, yeah. And then we have just a bit of a landing, just a tiny, insignificant landing in the thinnest point of Mexico. Which, that hurts a lot. Because now they, at lightning speed, travel across Mexico and split it into two pieces. And then they make a bit of a push into Mexico, just not too much though, as they could get encircled. Meanwhile, basically Mexico is done for. They're done. They're about to die. They are literally, they are crumbling fast. Because Mexico is not fit to fight a war with the USA. And eventually we have all of Guatemala and the southern point of Mexico die. And then they push up the coast a little bit and take all of the coast of eastern Mexico. Now, they'd be like, isn't Mexico City here? No, it's not. It's like right there. But they push out and capture the city. After Mexico City falls, we just have basically the quickest collapse of Mexico ever. And after a bit, just not that much more fighting, we have Mexico surrendering. And yeah, we all of that just to gain Panama. Now in the treaty, just the U.S. gains a lot, especially in Mexico where they gain around half the country, and the Yucatan, and practically all of the main Caribbean islands are theirs. Meanwhile, Belize comes up with their plan to be annexed by the U.S., which goes well. They are annexed into the Yucatan province. Meanwhile, Guatemala just is a puppet of the USA. So is Mexico. So they decide to unite the two. So yeah, the puppet of Mexico, Guatemala, and stuff. So we have Colombia as well, deciding to do something in their life, and then them being basically the second most, like one of the most, like basically third most powerful in the Americas, behind Brazil and the USA. They then demand this land from Peru. They basically send an ultimatum saying, hey, buddy, give. Now, come on. And then we have, that's a land dispute, basically. But, yeah, it's a land dispute. But yeah, we then have war being broken between them. It may be like, hey, why didn't you erase this? Because, well, do I need to erase it? So they're going into war. So then they start an invasion into what they believe is theirs. They start an invasion into what they believe is their rightful territory, because it's Gran Colombia, and they want the land from Gran Colombia back. So they start an invasion through here, and eventually they make the Peruvian military here, which doesn't go well since Peru is way weaker than Colombia in this universe. But in this, we then have them practically taking all the lands they took all the lands like, they withdraw from every land that they think is Peru's, right? They want to enforce that claim, so they have military there. So they are not pushing further into Peru, and then they ask for peace then they ask for peace, of course. Which then Peru, after lots of heavens and tea, accept. And now, after this, after rapidly industrializing, they are more powerful than Brazil. So then they basically say, Brazil, hey, give us some of your Amazon land or you're fucked. In which Brazil says, bring it on. And so they do bring it on. Now, I don't know how everyone else in South America would feel about this, but they just don't get involved as much as I thought they would. So, yeah, we're gonna have a tiny push into the Amazon because they don't want to really get involved with this. But I think in the Amazon River, they have the Amazon River as their border. So down from the southern tip of here, they push out through the river. Because that's where their panhandle is, right? Or no, that's not Colombia's panhandle. Man, I don't know. Yeah, I think this is where it is. So Colombia, out of their panhandle, goes out through here and into here. So they are invading the rivers, notably one over here as well, and they make an encirclement with basically no troops except for the natives. Which after this, they push out, and they push through more of the river, until they have like where the two rivers meet, and then basically that becomes theirs. Along with a push out from here into the Amazon as well. They'd be like, why are you going all geographical all of a sudden? Like, bro, what? And yeah, that's basically how I think it would go, because they're trying to follow rivers. And after this, I think they would go out full Amazon as well, and they reach a river. They reach like the inner point of 3 rivers, which after this we have a more big force coming in to meeting up with the point, because this is where like a major city is, I think, which they are pushed back, but then they are encircled and eventually taken. And eventually, after a bit, we then have the front line basically going out a bit and practically expanding, and like, because this is a very unstable front line, because most of it is Amazon, so they just push back. But then they decide, hey, if we invade all the way out to the river, which this is where the thing I just colored in, that's where the Amazon River flows out to. They think they can encircle a lot of troops here that are in here, so they go ahead and take all the Amazon River, in which they do manage to basically encircle this, but not really, as they're making a push through here, which this is all less Amazon-y. So no more Amazon here, so they're actually being pushed back over here, and they got pushed back. But that's about it. And then again, like they did with Venezuela, they basically claim all of this land, but almost none of it is actually in control. So yeah, after this, which this is way more than what Colombia wants. After this, and a bit more of a stabilized front line, and a bit more stabilization, we have them signing peace. And yeah, there we go. That is the Gran Colombia. That's how it works. So we have Brazil ceding this land. Now that's more land than what they actually got. Than that one Gran Colombia actually has. So this technically is Colombia's territorial extent. I mean, for now. I have no doubt that they'll invade Guyana and then push into Suriname and all that. So yeah. And yeah, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. Have a nice